Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty and watched Earth grow larger on the main screen. After 6 months in deep space, the blue planet looked like the most beautiful thing in the universe. His crew had just finished humanity's third mission to another star system. They had met a peaceful alien race called the Kelvari and shared knowledge with them. "Captain, we're getting close to Earth," said Commander Alex Torres from his station. "Something's wrong, though. I'm seeing a lot of ships around our planet." Jake frowned and moved closer to the screen. As they got nearer, his heart sank. Hundreds of strange crystal ships surrounded Earth in perfect circles. The ships were bigger than anything humans had ever built. They glowed with a soft blue light and looked like they were made from living glass. "Are those our ships?" asked Dr. Lisa Kane, the ship's science officer. "No," Jake said quietly. "Those aren't human ships." The communication system suddenly came alive. A voice spoke in perfect English, but it sounded cold and mechanical. "Human vessel, you will stop and prepare to be escorted. You are not permitted to approach Earth without permission." Jake looked at his crew. They all seemed scared and confused. He pressed the communication button. "This is Captain Morrison of the Earth ship Liberty. Who are you and why are you surrounding our planet?" "We are the Zephyrian Collective. Your species has been placed under protective custody. You will dock at the assigned station and wait for further instructions." A large crystal ship moved toward them. It was 10 times bigger than the Liberty. Jake knew they had no choice but to follow. The alien ship guided them to a massive space station that floated near Earth's moon. Once they docked, tall, thin aliens came aboard. They had pale blue skin and large black eyes. Their leader wore robes that seemed to be made of the same crystal material as their ships. "I am Commander Velketh of the Zephyrian Fleet," the alien said. "You will come with us to meet High Arbiter Kethvar." Jake and his senior officers followed the aliens through corridors filled with soft blue light. Everything seemed to pulse gently, as if the station itself was alive. They were brought to a large room where a very tall Zephyrian waited for them. "I am High Arbiter Kethvar," the alien said. "I speak for the Galactic Council in this matter." "What matter?" Jake asked. "Why have you surrounded our planet?" Kethvar moved to a large window that showed Earth below. "Your species has been judged by the Galactic Council. We have watched you for many years. You are too dangerous to be allowed free travel among the stars." Dr. Kane stepped forward. "Dangerous? We've never attacked anyone. We've been peaceful in all our contacts with other species." "Your history says otherwise," Kethvar replied. "Your species has spent thousands of years fighting wars, destroying your environment, and conquering weaker peoples. Now you have faster-than-light travel. The Council believes you will bring this violence to other worlds." "That's our past," Jake said angrily. "We've changed. We've grown beyond those things." "Have you?" Kethvar turned to face them. "Your ships carry weapons. Your governments still maintain armies. Your people still fight over resources and land. The Council sees no evidence of true change." Alex stepped beside Jake. "So what happens now?" "Your species will remain in this solar system," Kethvar announced. "You may not travel beyond the orbit of your outermost planet. Any attempt to leave will result in the destruction of your ships." "You can't do this," Lisa shouted. "We have rights." "Rights?" Kethvar seemed amused. "You have the right to live peacefully in your home system. The Galactic Council has governed this galaxy for over 50,000 years. We have seen species like yours before. They all believed they were special. They all believed they deserved to spread among the stars." "What happened to them?" Jake asked, though he feared the answer. "Some learned to live within their boundaries. Others—" Kethvar paused. "Others chose to resist. They are no longer a concern." The meaning was clear. Jake felt anger rising in his chest, but he forced himself to stay calm. "How long will this last?" "Perhaps forever," Kethvar said. "The Council will review your species in 100 of your years. If you have truly changed, if you have learned to live in peace, then perhaps the quarantine will be lifted." 100 years? Alex said in shock. A brief moment in galactic terms, Kethvar replied. Your escort ship will take you back to Earth. You will inform your leaders of the Council's decision. Any resistance will be met with force. As they were led back to their ship, Jake's mind raced. The aliens had superior technology and overwhelming numbers. Fighting them would be suicide, but accepting this imprisonment felt like giving up everything humanity had worked for. The journey back to Earth was quiet. Everyone was lost in their own thoughts. When they finally landed at the Global Defense Command base in Colorado, Admiral Henry Blake was waiting for them. Captain Morrison, the Admiral said grimly, we've been monitoring the situation. Tell me everything. They spent hours in debriefing. Jake explained about the Galactic Council, the quarantine, and the threat of destruction if humanity tried to leave the solar system. Admiral Blake listened without interrupting. When Jake finished, the Admiral was quiet for a long moment. Then he looked up with steel in his eyes. Gentlemen, we have a problem, but humanity has faced impossible odds before. We've always found a way to survive and fight back. What are you suggesting, sir? Jake asked. I'm suggesting that maybe it's time these aliens learned why the Galactic Council was right to fear us, Blake said quietly. Call an emergency session of the Global Defense Council. If they want to see how dangerous humans can be, let's show them. Jake felt a mixture of hope and dread. He knew that Admiral Blake was planning something that would either save humanity or destroy it completely. But doing nothing meant slow death as a caged species. The war for Earth's freedom was about to begin. 3 months had passed since the Zephyrian blockade began. On the surface, Earth's governments had accepted the quarantine. Ships stayed within the solar system, and all public contact with the aliens was peaceful and cooperative. But deep underground in secret military bases, a different kind of war was beginning. Colonel Sam Parker crouched behind a piece of space debris, watching a lone Zephyrian scout ship patrol the outer edge of the blockade. His team of 12 Special Forces soldiers floated silently in their black spacesuits, waiting for his signal. Remember, we need that ship intact, Parker whispered into his radio. Dr. Bell needs something to study, and we need to learn how their technology works. The scout ship was smaller than the main fleet vessels, but it still glowed with the same blue crystal energy. Parker had been watching these patrols for weeks, learning their patterns. This particular ship always flew the same route, always alone, always at the same time. Move, Parker ordered. His team launched themselves from the debris field using small thrusters. They had practiced this attack dozens of times in simulation. The Zephyrian ship had sensors, but the human stealth suits were designed to look like floating rocks. The team reached the alien ship and attached magnetic charges to its hull. The charges were not meant to destroy, but to disable. Within seconds, the ship's engines went dead and its lights flickered out. Go, go, go! Parker shouted. His soldiers cut through the ship's hull with plasma torches. Inside, they found 2 Zephyrian crew members floating unconscious. The ship's systems were still partially working, controlled by some kind of living crystal computer. Package secured, Parker reported. Heading home. Back on Earth, Dr. Ryan Bell waited in his underground laboratory. He had been Earth's top quantum physicist before the blockade. Now he spent his days trying to understand alien technology that seemed impossible. The captured Zephyrian ship arrived at the secret base 6 hours later. Dr. Bell's hands shook with excitement as he examined the crystal computers and energy systems. This is incredible, he told his assistant, Maya Rodriguez. Their entire ship is grown, not built. The crystal network acts like a brain, controlling every system. Maya was a former intelligence analyst who now spent her time breaking alien codes and communications. She had learned to understand parts of the Zephyrian language by listening to their transmissions. I've been tracking their communications, Maya said. They're reporting the missing scout ship as a technical malfunction. They don't seem to know we took it. Good, Bell said. That gives us time to learn from it. Meanwhile, at a secret airfield in Nevada, Captain Steve Collins was testing humanity's new stealth fighters. These ships were built using technology stolen from previous raids on Zephyrian vessels. They could slip past the alien sensors and scout beyond the blockade. Collins had just returned from his third reconnaissance mission. What he had seen in deep space was terrifying. Admiral Blake needs to see this immediately, Collins told his ground crew. An hour later, Collins stood in the underground command center, showing his recordings to Admiral Blake and the other leaders of Project Breakthrough. The blockade is just the beginning, Collins reported. I counted over 3,000 Zephyrian ships in the outer system. They're building something big near Jupiter. The recording showed massive construction platforms and strange devices being assembled in space. The aliens were clearly preparing for something much larger than a simple quarantine. Maya looked up from her computer. I've been analyzing their communications from Collins' mission. I think I know what they're building. She put her translation on the main screen. The words made everyone in the room go cold. Cleansing protocol preparation 60% complete. Estimated time to activation, 6 months. Cleansing protocol? Admiral Blake asked. Maya pulled up more intercepted messages. From what I can understand, it's some kind of sterilization system. They've used it before on other species that tried to resist the quarantine. Dr. Bell felt sick. Are you saying they plan to kill everyone on Earth? Maya finished. Yes. The quarantine isn't permanent. It's just to keep us busy while they prepare to wipe us out. Admiral Blake was quiet for a long moment. Then he turned to Colonel Parker. How many more ships can you capture? With the new stealth fighters to help us, maybe 1 or 2 per week, Parker replied. But each raid gets more dangerous. They're starting to increase their patrols. Do it, Blake ordered. We need as much of their technology as possible. Over the next month, Parker's teams captured 6 more alien ships. Dr. Bell worked day and night to understand their systems. He made breakthrough after breakthrough, learning how to copy their energy sources and weapons. But the aliens were getting suspicious. High Arbiter Kethvar had noticed the pattern of missing ships and technical failures. During Parker's 7th raid, everything went wrong. The Zephyrian ship was ready for them. As soon as his team approached, dozens of other ships appeared from hiding. It's a trap, Parker shouted. All units retreat. Laser beams filled space around them. 3 of Parker's soldiers were hit and killed instantly. The rest barely escaped to their stealth ship, but the aliens followed them. Captain Collins pushed his fighter to its limits, trying to lose the pursuit. The Zephyrian ships were faster, but Collins knew the solar system better. He led them through the asteroid belt, using the rocks for cover. Finally, the alien ships gave up the chase and returned to their positions. But the message was clear. The Zephyrians now knew that humans were conducting secret operations. The next day, High Arbiter Kethvar appeared on every communication channel on Earth. His message was broadcast to every city, every home, every device capable of receiving signals. People of Earth, Kethvar said, his voice cold and threatening. We know that your military has been conducting illegal operations against our fleet. This ends now. The image changed to show the 3 captured human soldiers. They were alive but imprisoned in crystal cages. Any further resistance will result in the immediate execution of these prisoners and the acceleration of our cleansing protocol. You have 48 hours to cease all hostile activities and surrender those responsible. Admiral Blake watched the broadcast from his command center. He knew that surrendering would only delay the inevitable. The aliens were going to kill everyone on Earth anyway. Sir, Maya said quietly. I've been monitoring their communications since the broadcast. The cleansing protocol timeline has been moved up. They're now planning to activate it in 3 months instead of 6. Blake nodded grimly. The underground war had bought them some time and technology, but it had also made their situation much worse. Now they had less time than ever to find a way to fight back. Colonel Parker, Blake said, no more raids for now. Dr. Bell, how much progress have you made with their technology? I can copy some of their weapons and energy systems, Bell replied. But their ships are still far superior to ours. We might be able to upgrade our defense systems, but we can't match their fleet in open combat. Blake stared at the tactical display showing the thousands of alien ships surrounding Earth. Conventional resistance was hopeless. They needed something else, something the aliens wouldn't expect. Maya, I want you to dig deeper into their communications, Blake ordered. There has to be something we can use, some weakness, some fear they have. I'll try, sir, Maya said, but their language is complex and they don't share much over open channels. Blake turned to look at Earth on the main screen. Somewhere on this planet, there had to be an answer. Humanity had survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters. They had always found a way to fight back against impossible odds. But this time, their enemy came from the stars with technology that seemed like magic. This time, humanity might have finally met a challenge they couldn't overcome. Unless they could find something the aliens didn't know about. Something hidden, something forgotten, something that could change the balance of power. The clock was ticking, and Earth's time was running out. Professor Kate Morgan had always believed that Earth held secrets older than human civilization. For 20 years, she had studied ancient ruins and mysterious artifacts that didn't fit with accepted history. Most other scientists thought she was wasting her time. Now, with alien ships surrounding Earth and humanity facing extinction, her crazy theories might be the only hope left. The call came at 3 in the morning. Admiral Blake's voice was tired and desperate. Professor Morgan, I need you to come to Colorado immediately. Bring everything you have about pre-human civilizations. Kate packed her research and caught the first military transport to the underground command center. When she arrived, she found the base in chaos. Scientists and soldiers rushed back and forth, working on projects she couldn't understand. Admiral Blake met her in his office. He looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. Professor, I'll be direct, Blake said. We're going to lose this war. The aliens are too advanced, and they plan to kill everyone on Earth in less than 3 months. We need something they don't know about, something that might give us an advantage. Kate opened her files on the table. What makes you think I can help? Because Maya Rodriguez has been studying alien communications, Blake replied. She found something interesting. The aliens are afraid of something they call the Ancient Ones. They keep checking Earth for signs of architect activity. We think they're looking for evidence of some older civilization. Kate's heart began to race. She pulled out a map covered with red marks. Admiral, I found ruins all over the world that are millions of years older than they should be. The official archaeological community ignores them because they don't fit our timeline of human development. Blake studied the map. Tell me about Antarctica. Kate pointed to several marks on the frozen continent. The largest site is here, under 2 miles of ice. Ground-penetrating radar shows structures that are enormous. The metal composition doesn't match anything we know about. How long would it take to reach this site? With the right equipment, maybe 2 weeks, Kate said. But Admiral, the conditions are incredibly dangerous, and we don't know what we'll find. Professor, we're all going to die in 3 months anyway. Dangerous conditions are the least of our problems. Within 24 hours, Kate found herself on a military transport heading to Antarctica with a team of specialists. Dr. Tim Foster, the military's top AI researcher, sat across from her studying technical manuals. Professor, Dr. Foster said, I've read your research. If there really is advanced technology down there, we need to be careful about how we activate it. Ancient AI systems could be incredibly dangerous. Lieutenant Amy Chen, their military escort, checked her weapons for the 3rd time. My job is to keep everyone alive while you dig up whatever's down there. Just remember that we're on a tight schedule. Nathan Price, a civilian engineer, looked out the window at the white landscape below. I still can't believe we're doing this, looking for alien ruins while aliens are trying to kill us. It sounds like something out of a crazy movie. The team landed at a remote research station and immediately began drilling through the ice. The work was slow and difficult. Every hour that passed brought Earth closer to the cleansing protocol. On the 5th day, they broke through into open space. Nathan's drill suddenly dropped 2 feet, and warm air rushed up through the hole. There's something down here, Nathan called out. Something big. They lowered cameras into the opening and saw passages filled with soft blue light. The walls were covered with crystalline patterns that pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. Those crystals, Dr. Foster said, staring at the images. They look similar to Zephyrian technology, but older somehow. Kate felt excited and terrified at the same time. We need to go down there. Lieutenant Chen shook her head. That's not safe. We don't know what kind of atmosphere is down there, or what kind of defenses might be active. We don't have time to be safe, Kate replied. Every day we wait is another day closer to humanity's extinction. They spent 2 more days preparing safety equipment and expanding the opening. Finally, Kate, Dr. Foster, and Nathan descended into the ancient complex while Lieutenant Chen maintained communications from the surface. The passages were wide enough for vehicles and tall enough for giants. The blue light came from crystals embedded in the walls, but these crystals were different from the Zephyrian ones they had seen. These seemed more alive, more aware. Professor, Dr. Foster said, checking his instruments. These crystals are emitting some kind of data signal. It's like they're trying to communicate. They followed the main passage for over a mile before reaching a massive chamber. The room was the size of a football stadium, filled with crystalline structures that reached from floor to ceiling. At the center stood a platform with what looked like a control interface. Kate approached the platform carefully. As soon as she touched it, the entire chamber came alive. Holographic images appeared in the air, showing the solar system as it existed millions of years ago. My God, Nathan whispered. It's some kind of historical record. The holograms showed Earth covered with vast cities made of crystal and metal. Strange beings moved through the images, tall, graceful creatures that seemed to be made of living energy. Dr. Foster connected his computer to the interface. I'm detecting massive AI systems throughout this complex. They've been dormant, but they're starting to wake up. The holograms changed to show space battles between the energy beings and creatures that looked disturbingly similar to the Zephyrians. The wars raged across multiple star systems, with weapons that destroyed entire planets. The Ancient Ones, Kate said in awe. The aliens were right to be afraid. There was a war here long before humans evolved. A new image appeared showing the energy beings, the architects, changing themselves into pure information and disappearing into crystalline storage systems. The last image showed Earth being prepared for new life, with primitive humans being carefully guided in their development. Suddenly, a voice spoke directly into their minds. It was calm and ancient, speaking in perfect English. Inheritors, you have finally reached sufficient development to understand your purpose. Dr. Foster nearly dropped his computer. What? Who said that? I am the warden, the voice continued, left behind by the architects to protect their chosen inheritors, humanity, from the return of the Devourers. Devourers? Kate asked. The hologram changed to show the Zephyrian-like creatures destroying world after world, consuming all life and resources before moving on to the next system. The beings you call the Galactic Council are descendants of the Devourers, the warden explained. For millions of years, they have systematically eliminated any species that might threaten their dominance. They destroyed the architects and have been waiting for humanity to develop enough to become a threat. Nathan looked around the chamber in amazement. So what are you exactly? I am a distributed intelligence network designed to activate when humanity reaches the stars and encounters the Devourers. I have been dormant, waiting for this moment. Dr. Foster's hands shook as he studied his readings. The AI systems throughout this complex are enormous. The processing power is beyond anything we've ever imagined. What can you do to help us? Kate asked. The chamber filled with new holograms showing weapon systems hidden throughout the solar system. Massive platforms disguised as asteroids, underground installations on Mars and the Moon, and fleets of ships waiting in the outer darkness. The architects prepared for this war, the warden said, but the weapons require human operators. You must be willing to interface with my systems and become something more than what you are. Lieutenant Chen's voice came through their radios. Team, we have a problem up here. Zephyrian ships are approaching our location. They must have detected the energy signatures from that complex. Kate looked at Dr. Foster and Nathan. We need to get this information back to Admiral Blake immediately. Agreed, Dr. Foster said. But we need to establish a permanent connection to this system. If what the warden is saying is true, this might be our only chance to fight back. As they prepared to leave, the warden spoke again. Inheritors, time grows short. The Devourers are preparing their final weapon. You must decide quickly whether you are willing to become what the architects intended. The team raced through the passages as the complex continued to awaken around them. Ancient systems that had slept for millions of years were coming online, preparing for a war that would decide the fate of the galaxy. When they reached the surface, Kate could see Zephyrian ships in the distance, approaching their location. The aliens had found them, but it might already be too late to stop what had begun. Humanity had awakened something ancient and powerful. The question was whether they could learn to control it before the cleansing protocol destroyed them all. As their transport lifted off from the ice, Kate looked back at the drilling site. Deep underground, the Warden was preparing weapons that had not been used for millions of years. The real war was about to begin. General Mike Stone stood in the command center watching dozens of screens showing military preparations around the world. Ever since Professor Morgan's team had returned from Antarctica with news of the Warden, every major power on Earth had been secretly preparing for something they didn't fully understand. "Sir," Dr. Ashley Gray called from her medical station, "we're ready for the first neural interface test." Dr. Gray had spent 2 weeks developing the technology needed for humans to connect directly with the ancient AI systems. The process was dangerous. 3 volunteers had already died during preliminary tests, and 2 others were in comas. Captain Jake Morrison stood beside the interface chair, looking determined but nervous. He had volunteered to be the first person to attempt full connection with the Warden's primary systems. "Captain, you understand the risks," General Stone said. "We don't know what this will do to your mind." Jake nodded. "Sir, the Zephyrians are going to activate their cleansing protocol in 6 weeks. We need to take this chance." Dr. Gray attached the neural connectors to Jake's head. The devices looked like small crystal discs, similar to the technology they had found in Antarctica. When activated, they would link Jake's brain directly to the Warden's network. Beginning interface in 3, 2, 1. Jake's body went rigid as the connection activated. On the screens around the room, data began flowing faster than anyone could read. The Warden's systems were downloading information directly into Jake's mind. For 10 minutes, nothing happened except streams of data on the monitors. Then Jake opened his eyes, but they now glowed with a soft blue light. "Interface complete," Jake said, but his voice carried an unusual echo. "The Warden is online, beginning activation of defensive systems." Around the world, things that had looked like ordinary asteroids began to change. In space near Mars, a chunk of rock unfolded into a massive weapon platform. Similar transformations happened near Jupiter, Saturn, and throughout the asteroid belt. Commander Luke Hayes watched from the bridge of Earth's newest military vessel, the UES Defiance. His ship was one of 12 that had been secretly upgraded with technology learned from captured Zephyrian vessels. "Captain Hayes," came Jake's voice over the radio, but it sounded different now. "You are needed at coordinates 15.7 by 23.9 near Mars. A Warden platform requires human crew." Hayes looked at his crew. They were all volunteers who had agreed to interface with smaller versions of the Warden systems. None of them knew exactly what they were getting into. "All hands, prepare for neural interface activation," Hayes announced. When Hayes connected to the ship's new systems, his mind expanded. Suddenly, he could see the entire solar system as if it were a map in his head. He could sense the Zephyrian ships, the hidden Warden platforms, and the growing energy signatures of awakening ancient weapons. "This is incredible," Hayes whispered. "I can see everything." On Earth, Dr. Tim Foster worked frantically to understand the flood of new technology the Warden was providing. Ancient blueprints appeared on his computers faster than he could study them. Weapons that used principles of physics humans barely understood, ships that could travel faster than anything in the Zephyrian fleet, and defensive systems that could protect entire planets. "Professor Morgan," Dr. Foster called out, "the Warden is showing us how to build things we never dreamed of, but it's happening so fast." Kate looked at the designs flowing across the screens. It's been waiting millions of years for this moment. The architects planned for exactly this situation. Meanwhile, the Zephyrian fleet had noticed the energy signatures appearing throughout the solar system. High Arbiter Kethvar stood on the bridge of his flagship, studying reports from his scouts. "The humans have awakened something," his tactical officer reported. Energy readings are appearing from locations we thought were empty space. Kethvar felt a chill of fear. The Galactic Council had warned that Earth might contain architect technology, but they had hoped it was destroyed long ago. Send word to the Council immediately, Kethvar ordered. Request permission to begin the cleansing protocol ahead of schedule. Sir, the Council specifically ordered us to wait until the preparations were complete. The preparations will mean nothing if the architects have returned, Kethvar said grimly. Send the message. Back on Earth, Jake Morrison stood in the Antarctic complex, now permanently connected to the Warden's primary systems. His human consciousness remained, but it was enhanced and expanded by the ancient AI. General Stone, Jake reported through the communication system. The Zephyrians are requesting permission to accelerate their attack. We have perhaps days, not weeks. How many of our people can interface with your systems? Stone asked. The process is dangerous for human minds, Jake replied. But I can safely connect with approximately 50 individuals. Each connected human can control multiple weapon platforms and defensive systems. Dr. Gray looked up from her medical monitors. Sir, we have volunteers from every branch of the military. They all understand the risks. Over the next 3 days, the most experienced pilots, soldiers, and tacticians on Earth underwent the dangerous interface procedure. 7 died during the process, but 43 succeeded in connecting to the Warden's network. Captain Steve Collins was among the successful candidates. When he connected to the system, his consciousness spread across a dozen hidden ship constructs scattered through the outer solar system. This is amazing, Collins reported. I can control multiple ships at once, and they're faster and more maneuverable than anything we've ever built. Nathan Price, the engineer from the Antarctic team, had interfaced with the industrial systems. General, the Warden is showing me how to build new ships and weapons using matter conversion technology. We can turn asteroids into battleships in a matter of hours. But the most significant change was in Jake Morrison. As the primary interface, he had access to the Warden's complete knowledge and capabilities. He could see patterns in space and time that no human mind could normally comprehend. The architects didn't just build weapons, Jake reported. They built a complete military philosophy. The Warden doesn't just fight wars. It changes the fundamental rules of combat. On the 4th day, the Zephyrian response came. Every ship in their fleet began moving into attack position around Earth. High Arbiter Kethvar had received permission to begin the cleansing protocol immediately. All human vessels, this is your final warning, Kethvar broadcast. Surrender immediately or face complete annihilation. General Stone looked at the tactical displays showing thousands of alien ships preparing to attack. Even with the Warden's technology, the odds seemed impossible. Jake, are we ready? Stone asked. Jake's voice came from speakers throughout the command center, now carrying the full authority of the ancient AI system. General, the Warden has been preparing for this war for millions of years. The Zephyrians are about to learn why the Galactic Council was right to fear the return of the architects. Throughout the solar system, hidden platforms began to power up. Ships that had been disguised as space debris revealed their true nature. Weapons that had slept since before human civilization started coming online. All units, Jake announced to the connected human operators. The God of War awakens. Show these aliens what happens when they threaten the inheritors of the architects. The Zephyrian fleet began their attack, expecting to face primitive human resistance. Instead, they encountered something impossible. Asteroids transformed into battleships. Space itself seemed to bend around human vessels. Weapons appeared from nowhere and struck with impossible accuracy. High Arbiter Kethvar watched in horror as his advanced fleet met technology that made their own seem primitive. This is impossible, he whispered. The architects are extinct. Jake Morrison's voice echoed across all communication channels, speaking with the authority of the ancient AI that had waited millions of years for this moment. The architects may be gone, but their will lives on through humanity. You came here to destroy us. Instead, you have awakened something that will destroy you. The real battle for Earth's freedom was about to begin, and the outcome would determine the fate of the entire galaxy. The first shots of the war came from the Zephyrian fleet. Thousands of crystal ships opened fire on Earth with weapons designed to sterilize entire planets. The energy beams should have burned through the atmosphere and killed every living thing on the surface. Instead, they struck invisible barriers that shimmered into existence around the planet. The Warden's defensive systems had been waiting for this moment for millions of years. All defensive platforms are active, Jake Morrison reported from his neural interface with the ancient AI. His consciousness was now spread across the entire solar system, controlling hundreds of hidden weapon systems. Beginning counterattack. What the Zephyrians had thought were ordinary asteroids suddenly revealed their true nature. Massive weapon platforms unfolded from chunks of rock, bristling with energy cannons that fired beams of pure force. Space stations disguised as debris powered up and launched swarms of fighter ships. High Arbiter Kethvar watched in shock as his fleet came under attack from weapons that appeared out of nowhere. "This is impossible," he said to his tactical officer. "Our sensors showed nothing but empty space in those locations." "Sir, the human technology is unlike anything in our databases. Their weapons are somehow bending space itself." Captain Steve Collins, connected to the Warden's fighter control systems, led a squadron of ships that moved like living things through space. The ancient architect technology allowed them to phase in and out of normal space, appearing behind enemy ships and disappearing before return fire could hit them. "This is incredible," Collins radioed to his wing. "It's like the ships know what I'm thinking before I think it." Commander Luke Hayes commanded one of the massive weapon platforms near Mars. Through his neural interface, he could control dozens of energy cannons simultaneously, targeting multiple enemy ships with each thought. "Enemy flagship moving to attack Earth directly," Hayes reported. "Intercepting." The Zephyrian flagship was 10 times larger than any human vessel, but the Warden's platforms were not limited by human engineering. As Hayes focused his will, the weapon platform reconfigured itself, growing new cannons and defensive shields from stored matter. The battle raged across the entire solar system. Near Jupiter, Nathan Price controlled manufacturing platforms that were building new ships faster than the Zephyrians could destroy them. Asteroids were converted into battleships in minutes, using technology that treated matter like clay to be shaped. "We're outproducing them 10 to 1, Nathan reported. "Every rock in the asteroid belt can become a weapon." But the true scope of the Warden's capabilities became clear when Jake Morrison accessed its deepest systems. The ancient AI didn't just control weapons. It could manipulate the fundamental forces of space and time. "Activating quantum displacement fields," Jake announced. Suddenly, half the Zephyrian fleet found themselves transported to the outer edge of the solar system, separated from their main force. The other half discovered that their weapons no longer worked properly, as local space-time had been altered to make their energy beams harmless. High Arbiter Kethvar sent a desperate message to the Galactic Council. "Council Prime, we are under attack by architect technology. The humans have awakened systems we thought were destroyed. We need immediate reinforcement." The response came from Council Prime Velthar himself, the ancient leader of the Galactic Council. "Impossible. The architects were completely eliminated millions of years ago. Their technology was destroyed. Sir, I am looking at architect weapon platforms that are tearing apart our fleet. Whatever you thought was destroyed, it's very much alive." Dr. Lisa Kane, working from Earth's command center, had been monitoring the alien communications. As the battle continued, she began diplomatic broadcasts to the scattered Zephyrian ships. "Zephyrian vessels, this is Dr. Kane of Earth. Your leaders have lied to you. The quarantine was never about protecting the galaxy from human aggression. It was about preventing you from learning the truth about the Galactic Council." Some of the Zephyrian ship captains began responding to her transmissions. "Human, what truth do you speak of?" "The Council are descendants of a species called the Devourers," Lisa explained. "For millions of years, they have been systematically destroying any civilization that might threaten their power. You are not peacekeepers. You are tools of genocide." Meanwhile, Maya Rodriguez had been using the Warden's technology to break into the Galactic Council's communication networks. What she found was horrifying. "Admiral Blake," Maya reported. "I've accessed their historical databases. The Council has destroyed over 3,000 civilizations in the past million years. Species that refused quarantine, species that developed too quickly, species that asked too many questions. The revelation was broadcast to every ship in the Zephyrian fleet. Many of their crew members had never known the true scope of the Council's activities. They had believed they were protecting the galaxy from dangerous species. As the truth spread through their ranks, some Zephyrian ships stopped fighting and began broadcasting surrender signals. High Arbiter Keth Var, one ship captain, transmitted, "If what the humans say is true, then we have been committing genocide for the Council." Keth Var tried to maintain order in his fleet, but doubt was spreading like a disease. The Warden's quantum manipulation was making it impossible for him to coordinate his forces, and human ships appeared to be everywhere at once. The decisive moment came when Council Prime Velthar himself arrived with a massive reinforcement fleet. His ship was a mobile fortress the size of a small moon, armed with weapons that had destroyed countless worlds. "Humans," Velthar broadcast, "you have awakened technology you do not understand. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick." Jake Morrison, speaking with the full authority of the Warden, responded for all humanity. "Council Prime, you are the last remnant of a species that nearly destroyed the galaxy. The architects created us to be their inheritors, and we inherit their mission to stop you." The final battle took place in the space between Earth and Mars. Velthar's fortress ship unleashed weapons that could crack planets, but the Warden was ready. The ancient AI had been planning this confrontation for millions of years. "Activating final protocol," Jake announced. Throughout the solar system, every Warden platform and ship connected into a single network. The combined processing power was beyond anything the universe had ever seen. Reality itself became malleable in the hands of the god of war. Velthar's weapons simply stopped working. The laws of physics around his ship were rewritten to make his energy systems harmless. His massive fortress found itself trapped in a bubble of altered space-time where nothing could escape. "This is impossible," Velthar screamed. "We destroyed the architects. We won that war." "You destroyed their physical forms," Jake replied, his voice now carrying the weight of millions of years of preparation. "But their will lives on through humanity. We are what you feared we would become." The battle ended not with explosions, but with surrender. Faced with technology that could rewrite the rules of reality itself, the Galactic Council's forces had no choice but to give up. In the aftermath, Dr. Kane led diplomatic efforts to establish a new order in the galaxy. The quarantine fleets were converted into exploration vessels. Former Council territories were given their freedom. Species that had been enslaved for millennia were liberated. Captain Morrison, still connected to the Warden but retaining his humanity, stood on the bridge of the first human vessel to leave the solar system after the blockade ended. "Professor Morgan," he said to Kate, who had joined the crew as chief archaeologist, "the Warden is detecting architect sites throughout the galaxy. Our work as inheritors is just beginning." 6 months later, Maya Rodriguez stood in the newly established Galactic Freedom Council, translating for delegates from over 200 species. The old council's empire had crumbled, replaced by voluntary cooperation between free civilizations. Admiral Blake, now retired, watched from Earth as human ships led mixed crews of former enemies into unexplored regions of space. The species that had once feared humanity's aggression now sought humanity's protection from other threats. "You know," Blake said to General Stone, "the aliens were right about one thing. We really are dangerous." Stone smiled. "Dangerous to tyrants and oppressors. I think the architects would be proud." The final scene showed Jake Morrison, permanently changed by his connection to the ancient AI, standing before a massive architect ruin on a distant world. The Warden spoke through him to a gathering of representatives from across the galaxy. The architects left this technology not as a weapon of conquest, but as a tool of liberation. Humanity will use it to ensure that no species ever again faces the choice between slavery and extinction. As the ceremony ended and the various species returned to their ships, Jake looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, beyond the galaxy itself, the Warden had detected signals that suggested the architects had not vanished completely. They had simply moved to a higher plane of existence, waiting to see if their inheritors would prove worthy of an even greater legacy. The war for Earth's freedom was over. The war for the galaxy's future was just beginning. But now, humanity and their allies faced that future with the knowledge that sometimes the most dangerous species in the universe are the ones who refuse to let freedom die. The god of war had awakened, and it would never sleep again.